Ordinance.
Bring us back up, Nancy, if you would, please. Okay, we'll call us back into session. We need to open the public hearing.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we open the public hearing for the, hold on, I want to say this, for the floodplain ordinance is posted.
We have a motion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Passes unanimously. All right, Mike.
Good morning, Commissioners. Mike Jaglowski, Bannock County Engineer. I am here for you to suggest and further recommend a change in our floodplain, or excuse me, our flood damage prevention ordinance that was passed about 1.25 years ago, 16 months ago. Specifically, I'd like to direct your attention to page 28 of 39. I believe that's in the packet there.
Yes.
And in the ordinance, this is under section 500, which is administration, and or standards, and then 510 is just specific standards. And item T, which is crossed out in the middle of the paragraph, or in the middle of the page there, I'd ask you to consider removing this. And what this does is that this prohibits fill or fill material, dirts and soils and the so forth, to be not able to be used as a building material in the let's see, it's a state flood hazard area, or the floodplain is what we call it. And it gives really no direction of that, other than you have to complete a conditional letter of map amendment F, which is a form that you present to FEMA, and then after the fill is placed, then you would complete a letter of map revision for fill for it to be submitted. And our replacement with that is to say that fill is prohibited, or I think I used the wrong word there. Fill is prohibited in the state flood hazard area, including construction of buildings flood or buildings on fill, except for the following conditions. Except under the following conditions. And I list 4 different conditions where we can use a combination of fill for compensatory storage. If we have imported fill, we give ideas of how we can use fill, soil fill in floodways and floodplains on that. And that at the end, we still ask for a letter of map revision from FEMA. And the purpose of having that is so that we're able to have FEMA's buy off, and then that section of the floodplain would be removed from, or that lot would be removed, or that parcel would be removed from the floodplain.
Okay. Mr. Chairman, if I may.
Yes.
So you would, as an engineer, now I'm asking you as an engineer, is this something that you would support to allow?
That, yes, I would.
Okay. Just not as the county engineer, but as an engineer that has worked in the private sector, that sees the importance of why you're scraping fill. And before, as my understanding, you could not use the fill from a location. You couldn't use that to build elevation on a building or whatever else you were using it for.
That's correct. And even furthermore, we didn't give any definition of being able to use it if it was approved to be there.
So you would have overburden that you would either have to remove, even though that overburden could be used for to meet purposes, so you didn't have to bring in additional outside material.
That's correct.
Okay.
Mike, how does this impact any developer that's building in a floodplain? Does it increase costs? How does it impact the building of something?
Well, in my opinion, it makes it easier, because we can use material that is on site to first create compensatory storage, which says we now are creating more storage for floodwaters to go, and we can use that fill material that you're excavating from your own parcel to elevate a building site or road or anything that you want to put a structure on, to move out of out of the floodplain, where before, we didn't have that provision in here. As well as, we can bring fill in to use as a building material to elevate your structure.
And something else that we deal with in the county, which I like if we don't have to move as much material, is typically if you do have outside material being introduced, say from the south end of the county being hauled to the north end, because maybe that's the only place you could find fill, is sometimes you may have invasive species, weeds, other things that are not cleaned out of that material, and you can actually be introducing them, because if it wasn't cleaned correctly, or even if those piles sat there for a while, you can transport those things, when you don't mean to. So I like that, especially because most floodplain areas are riparian areas, have wet, they're water, and if you do get those weeds in that area, they'll go like wildfire.
Right, and and at that point, nature has already an idea of how to grow in that parcel. So using that fill material from that parcel makes much more sense, one from a cost point of view and also from an ecological point of view.
Yes. Cool. I'm good with it.
Any additions, Mike?
Not that I see.
Ask for comment. That's ready to make a motion.
Okay,
Mr. Chairman, actually, do we have to ask that?
we need to come out of,
Do we have to ask for comment? There's nobody.
nobody signed up,
Okay.
nothing there.
Mr. Chairman, as there is no comment been offered for, against, or in favor, or neutral, I would move that we close the public hearing.
A motion, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Mr. Chairman, I would move to approve the revisions to the floodplain ordinance that have been presented.
We have a motion, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, passes unanimously.
Cool.
And there's no place for signature right now, anywhere on
No,
that.
that comes by
That
resolution,
resolution
is
will
that
come.
correct?
Okay. Okay. With that being said, we are adjourned.